total hustlers, dog line crushers, and this is Light It Up with your boy Dom Rici here.
Light it up. Show's about to begin.
How is everybody doing? Light It Up today, Monday, a third week. They haven't thrown me out yet, so I guess we're going to keep on going until they pull the plug, as they say. But glad everybody's here. It's a snowy day on Long Island in New York City, and it's been a terrible day actually with the weather and stuff, and like it was yesterday, which affected that Giant game. The weather across the country is just crazy all over the place. But it's been a crazy weekend. It's been a Thanksgiving weekend. There's been some crazy games that went on in the NFL. So we're going to be talking about that in a few minutes. Tonight I have two of my great friends, two of my special guests tonight to talk about everything from what happened last week in football to tonight's topic of cheating in sports. What is cheating? What is gamesmanship? The different kind of ways the sports have been cheated on, everywhere from horse racing to the NFL. So we're going to hit a lot about that stuff. MMA, boxing. We're going to try to hit a little bit of all of that. But before I get started with my weekend review, let me bring in my co-host, my partner at Who-Bangin Sports Talk, the Big Ragu. Hey, Doc, how you doing, buddy? Can you hear us, Doc? All right. We'll have to the old technical difficulty, that's for sure. But he'll turn on his mic on now. Boom. There you go. Hey, Doc. You got me? You got me, Doc?
What's going on, buddy? How are you doing?
Go. How are you?
All right.
See, I had to get our sound engineer to get us going here. We're still building the studio here on Long Island, so little technical difficulties.
How you doing?
How's everything, Doc? You got your eye on that? You got your eye on that football game right now?
No, I took it off. I stopped watching. I came back into my studio to talk to talk to you and the whole world this evening.
I hear you, man.
So yeah, we're all good. But
so,
I think last I seen it was 7-7. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I have my eye on the hockey games. I have the Rangers over 6 tonight. It's 4-1 in the beginning of the third period. Vegas is up 4-1 on the Rangers. So a bunch of us said in the chat this morning with betting the bag, we're on this over. So
good luck so far.
Looking so far so good. At least looks like you never know in hockey, man. With all of a sudden 3 or 4 goals, as we know, could get shot off at in a heartbeat. And what's also weird tonight, what happened is this Jersey game, the Jersey Buffalo game. Buffalo jumped out to a 5-0 start from the first period, and now they're up 7-1 at the end of the second. So yeah, it was crazy. But Doc, so this last week, NFL, man, starting on Thursday with that Dallas game, a lot of crazy things have gone on. For instance, that Dallas game, Dallas scored 7 points off the bat, and then the Bills scored 26 unanswered points away. In a big national game. It really showed me something about the Bills, which I wasn't really looking at. It showed me a lot. What about you?
Yeah. Well, the Bills, we knew they were built defensively strong. I'll tell you what, last year, if you think about it, with the way the Bills finished the season,
yes,
they were right there in the playoffs. So, and they were like 1 or 2 players away maybe to push them over the hump. But I tell you what, I got to give McDermott a lot of credit because he coaches these into the game. I mean, he's so into the game. He doesn't miss a step. This coach, and the guys, they rally around him. So, and Allen's playing pretty good football. There's a knock on him as being a little gunslinger and stuff, but he's kind of developed into a nice quarterback. He's not as mobile as people think he is, but he can take off and run when he needs to. And he's got there's a lot of good things going up in Buffalo. When you can play defense like those guys can play, just like when your Jets want to play defense, when they play defense, if they can score enough points, they can win some games. But Buffalo, they don't turn the ball over a whole lot, and they're solid defensively. So anytime you play football in the National Football League that way, you give yourself a chance week in, week out. So I like Buffalo. I think they might surprise a lot of people when it comes late December.
we forget. I do it myself. You forget that a player like Allen, first 5-6 weeks is going to be a lot different in week 8, week 9, week 10, week 11. They're starting to develop now. Even like you mentioned the Jets, even Donald, he's starting to, even with such a poor performance yesterday, he's starting to play a lot better. He's taking the sack instead of throwing the ball up. He's moving out of the pocket the right way. He for sure wasn't the reason why the Jets lost yesterday. It was not on him at all. But like you said with the Bills, they surprised me yesterday. I like the way they played. They got a big test next week. They got the Ravens, don't they?
Yeah.
I believe they got the.
That's going to be a key matchup for them.
One thing about that Raven game that I did notice yesterday is that that kid got hit more. That kid got hit more yesterday than on any other.
Jackson.
Even though he's running for Russian, even though he's running, and he's setting records and he's going to beat Michael Vick's record and stuff. He got hit more yesterday by the 49ers than he has all year. And I don't know if that's going to take an effect on him or not, but I would love to see a Ravens game where they're down 14-0, 17-0, and they have to abandon that run and just pass and see if they're that good. They're a good team, but
last year when they got into the playoffs, when they played the Chargers, the Chargers, they ran a very limited playbook against the Chargers, and they knew that because he was only into the league for a few weeks, going into that game as a starter. He's been in the league. This is his third year now, but I'm just saying he only had a couple games under his belt, so he had a very limited playbook. So the Chargers, they had him shut down. Now this year, they worked his scheme into the league a little bit, and we all know what happens in the NFL. For a good solid year, it takes, even though the defensive coordinators see film on him half a year later, it's still, until you actually play him, it's a whole different look. But second time around, it's going to be real interesting when he gets into the playoff against teams he's already played, and see how they adjust, for his style of play. But if you get in a physical game, like Baltimore is a very physical team, even up front and on the defensive side. So, that game kind of played out the way I thought it would. I didn't think that I had the 49ers. I didn't think they were going to be a touchdown better, but the weather kind of came into play a little bit there. So that kind of takes the advantage. I give the advantage to the offense on a rainy day, not so much the wind, but with the rain, a running style game like they had. So, and he knew the 49ers, Garoppolo probably wasn't on his best game, but still he got in there and made plays when he had to, I think he had a fumble or a turnover early in the game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I think an interception and a fumble, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that didn't play into San Fran's hand, but still they played a heck of a game, on the road trip and in the weather. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward with, like you say, Buffalo when they meet up with this team, and how McDermott can make some adjustments if he can make any adjustments to Jackson.
I'll tell you, that's another well-coached team. That Harbaugh's a good coach. I always liked him. He's he's been around a long time now. He's a staple over there, and I just the Ravens are a tricky team. When they do go far, they're the kind of team like this year. They snuck up out of nowhere. Yeah, and that's the kind of team the Ravens. They did that with Flacco. I don't know if they could go all the way, but we'll see. But I'll tell you, that was a hell of a game yesterday. There was another game that we touched on the game that really got me was two games got me yesterday: the Jets and the Pats.
The Pats. Forget
the Jets. I was loving the team total over 21.5. I didn't bet the Jets line, but I bet the over in the game, over 41. That I talked about early in the week. Matter of fact, me and Donnie Wright, so I talked about it, and I just thought that over 41 was the right play. And I thought Cincinnati would score some points, but hell, I didn't think the Jets wouldn't score any.
Yeah, that was a shocker.
It was ridiculous. And it was all because of the offensive line. The reason why they lost all those games at the beginning of the year and the reason why they won the last few games is because of that offensive line. Donald had no time. They were all being pushed in his face. Cincinnati's defensive front just manhandled the Jets all day long. It was embarrassing.
That's surprising. That's surprising because Cincinnati usually yields some points too, So they just didn't show up that game, whatever the hell the reason was. And you talk about the Pats, with their offensive struggles. I mean, you can see the frustration in Brady going back to last week, what was going on. And not to say that, we should have seen it last week, but going into this week, I mean, you just had, guys dropping balls and not running right routes. He was getting frustrated. You can see it. I didn't shut the game off, but I went to bed in the third quarter. I was surprised they came back as close as they did when I woke up and seen the score. But funny thing was, I kind of doubled up on that game too. I bet the second half it was -5.5, and the son of a bitch missed the extra point. And then when I started doing the math, I did the math right away. I says, shit, they won by 5 in the second half, and the guy missed the extra point to start the. And I tell you what the hell is going on with these kickers in the NFL too?
Oh, I don't know.
They can't make extra points anymore. I mean, Jesus Christ.
The best job in football is that kicker. That's the best job in football. All you gotta do is kick the damn ball.
Look at the Colts. Vinatieri cost him the game. He missed 14 field goal or 14 extra points this year. He's got 14 misses, and then Frank Reich wanted him to stay around. He was ready to leave, 6 weeks ago, but now you can't lose those kind of games in the NFL, especially You're not going to win the games kicking field goals to start off with, but you can sure lose them kicking field goals.
That's for sure. The reason why I started laughing when we were talking about the Jets is because I looked at our chat and I see Flipper13 in the chat, and he's saying that I'm still trying to adjust to Adam Gase. yeah, the Jets have more problems than that. I'll tell you. Like I said, that definitely wasn't on Sam. But before we James, let's bring in our other guest, our friend Nikki, Mr. Fat Fist, our MMA specialist, joining us tonight. There he is.
Here's Nick.
What's up, boys?
Nikki,
hey,
how are you, brother?
What's going on, Dom? What's up, brother?
Oh, man. I'll tell you, Nick, we were just talking a little bit about but can you hear us backstage when we're talking, by the way? You can
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
I wasn't really sure how that worked. Was there any games yesterday to you that surprised you, or that you
yeah,
well, I know you had the Cleveland Browns, unfortunately. I know that, but
I did.
Which I liked also. I told you I liked them also.
It's funny how Doc was like, I turned the game off. I probably turned the game off before Doc did. And I'm a Pats fan. I'm from Boston. That was just shameful. Oh, it was hard to watch. And I think that I know for a fact that we're not winning the bowl, and we're not getting there either.
Right.
No way.
Right.
I don't think. What do you think? I mean, you think they get it together? I don't think they have the tools.
I'll tell you, it's a tricky. Doc, what do you think about that, man? I tell you, it sure doesn't look like it used to.
Any given Sunday, but
here's the thing with New England. Usually, when New England goes to the Super Bowl goes through New England. Right. So that's their key to getting to the Super Bowl, because you're eliminating one extra game. You're eliminating the wild card winner coming to play, and you have home field advantage. So you get the bye week. So 2 games and you're in the Super Bowl. So with their schedule, their wins, if you look at years gone by when New England's got to the big game, it's always through
Agreed.
New England more or less. So that's going to be their biggest challenge, because now they're like Buffalo knocking on the door. They might be in the wild card. They might be a wild card team instead of
you know what I mean. And it feels like every decent to good team that we face, we either have trouble with or we lose to. You know what I mean? Like Dallas. We barely beat them.
Good.
They're lacking some weapons right now on the offensive side.
Yeah,
that's the issue right now. Nobody's really stepped up for them.
Antonio Brown might be coming back. I mean, I heard on ESPN or something like that. Like the Patriots are thinking about taking Antonio Brown back. Is that? I mean, I would love for that to happen, but is that the truth?
Teams, they'll take it. You know how these teams are. I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots took him back. You never know what's going to happen in football.
That's what they said.
Somebody gets hurt.
Someone
gets hurt. Someone, you never know. Everybody's fair game. It's like almost everybody, I guess. But I'll tell you.
What about this Colin Kaepernick situation?
I guess we expect too much out of the Patriots too, right? We're always in our head. We always expect the Patriots, and sooner or later, we all know sooner or later it's going to turn over. But we always expect too much. As far as me with the Kaepernick thing, at this point, it doesn't even matter about the whole political thing behind it.
No,
he's been out too many years to do anything. First of all, if he came back now, what system was he going to work in week 11? Where was he going to be? What was he going to do? Right? What system was he going to learn? But the other point is, you're out of football 3 years. I mean, it's tough. You see what happens with players after. Look at Le'Veon Bell. I'm watching him. I watch the Jets like a hawk. he's off a step because he hasn't been playing. I don't care how much he trained. There's nothing like getting hit. There's nothing like playing the game.
Yeah.
As far as Kaepernick, after 3 years sitting, I don't know if he could come back in. Somebody could. I don't know if Brady sat for 3 years if he could come back.
I think
That's
you can still
time,
put him.
man.
I think you still put him in the redhead's position, and he'd still play better ball.
Where in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Who's the redhead? Well,
Yeah.
not after what Dalton had. That team rallied around Dalton yesterday. They played a different. They played inspired football. The Bengals yesterday.
First time I ever bet the Jets.
But anyhow,
ever.
Hopefully the whole Kaepernick thing is a dead subject. Like I said, I mean, at this year it's definitely a dead subject. Now next year, now it's going to be almost 4 years he didn't play. I mean, you missed your boat to play.
Imagine the Patriots pick him up.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like you say, you never know.
Ironic.
Especially with the Patriots, you never know.
I mean?
But so anyhow,
Patriots are the new misfit team.
Yes, they sure are. So looking
the next
forward,
Jets. Go ahead.
Going forward, the Packers had a good win yesterday, which we knew they should have bounced back after the way they've been playing, especially against the Giants. The Vikings are up 14-7 now.
They are.
I took the Vikings tonight +3. I have, and I had the team total over 22.5. I think I put down 23.5 in the chat, but it was 22.5.
I took it live. Pick them.
I like the Vikings better than the Packers. Actually, they're a sneaky team. I think the Vikings this year. I guess depending on what happens here, but the teams are starting to. It's starting to look like we see the teams that are going to be getting there again. We see the Ravens. They're not going to start, go in the tank. We have the 49ers. We don't know what the Rams are still. We don't know what the Texans are, and I guess we don't know what the Patriots are. So a lot of things are up in the air, and there's some teams that are pretty much locked in.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Go ahead.
My dad is still complaining to this day. I know we had to, but getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he swears by him up and down that we should have kept him in the system somehow. I don't know how we could have, but what do you think about that?
Well, I don't know.
That was Brady's doing.
Right?
Yeah, that was Brady. Because I think Belichick wanted – that was a power struggle between him and Belichick. And Belichick wanted Garoppolo because he wanted to prove he can win a Super Bowl without Brady. It was a big head case thing. But, they settled their differences. And once Garoppolo was gone, it's back to business as usual for that team. But, Garoppolo would have been – they had a guy, Ryan Mallett. He didn't pan out for other teams in the league, too. He was supposed to be the heir apparent. So they've had him come and go in New England. Brady is the ageless wonder. So it's kind of hard to compete with that.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think when they got rid of him, it was definitely Brady's doing, and that put a couple of years into Brady because would play a couple of years longer, I would think. I think if Garoppolo was behind his back now, they might start talking about what we're going to do next year, or So now they're not talking about.
I think this is his last year. I think this is Brady's last year. After this kind of performance, they see how frustrated he's getting on the field. If that continues the rest of the year, I could see him hanging him up. If he has a good year, and wants to. I don't know about that.
He seems like the type that wants to get like one more. He always wants the one more. But I guess we'll see. But anyhow, like I started off the show yesterday was this past week, starting Thursday, was some crazy games in the NFL, and I'll tell you, it's definitely a week-to-week league. If never more than now, it's definitely a week-to-week league, right, Doc? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you got to go week to week with these guys, because, like we say, any given Sunday. But the thing is, with the way the scheduling is, I wouldn't blame it so much on the schedule, but it's just so much parity in the league now. That's you don't have the super team like you had years ago.
No,
they want it, right?
Yeah, so the NFL's got the product they want right now. It's a business first.
Right?
I'm not going to say we talk about the subject, cheating and whatnot, right. But I think there's a lot of influence comes down from the league, from the front office, to kind of keep it on an even basis. So this way, like for instance, we were talking about the Rams last year, right, with that big play at the end of the game in the Saints game. Mm-hmm. It's so obvious what happened there. But the Rams, they're trying to build a new stadium, and they want to, second largest market in the NFL. They want to push that team over. So guess what? Here they go to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So referees keep flags in their pocket. They drop flags when they need to. So it's just, it gives it a bad look. And it's been going on all year with the referees. So not to say that the games are fixed. They're definitely not
shaving points. You're right.
But, it's definitely – it's not even a matter of shaving points. It's a matter of winning and losing games. Just whoever they feel like, like one week they could say, hey, we need to start calling more penalties on this. So guess what? The referees, they talk about it in the media and you see it. Then they complain about it in the media, and next week it's gone. So it's just like it's not a fair product that they're putting on the field for the fans, number one, and they're definitely not giving the players the right judgment.
Same with MMA when it comes to the judging. No one knows when it comes to like the actual judging and the scorecards. You got judges in there that are new, that are going with the new type of scorecard, which is damage, striking, and then cage control. And if you do something with cage control, not just lay on top of somebody and try to grind the round out. And you're seeing one card to the next that are week apart. 2 fights that were identical, 10 minutes of ground control, and one fighter won the fight, one fighter lost the fight. So it's like in the same type of significant strikes as well when it came to the guy that should have lost and should have won. So it's getting frustrating. You know what I mean? They need to adopt. All the judges need to come together and they need to adopt it the same way because they're all being mixed together, the old guys and the new guys, and it's fuckery. It's getting weird.
Yeah, Dom could make it a testament for this. What I'm about to say, as far as boxing goes, the crookedest. I'm saying crooked because it's crooked as shit.
I told him that too.
Many years in Las Vegas, when you see the biggest fights on pay-per-view or HBO, Showtime, big gate fights where you had certain promoters that were involved with the fights. They kind of got to judges and stuff like that, and what then you say to yourself at the decision came for the fight. Like it'd be like a split decision or a unanimous decision. You're like, what fight were they watching? All of a sudden the crowd goes crazy, says they can't believe it. But guess what? We go back and we watch the fight again.
They want the rematch.
The rematch. Right. It's all about money.
The rematch.
Tyson Fury, Wilder. That draw they called, that was Fury's fight. There was no way you could fight. You could score that with the knockdown, even in the 12th. You can't score that for Wilder.
To me, it happens in the big fights more than the smaller fights. But like I'm involved a little bit with a matter of fact, since we started talking about the cheating thing, which is our topic for tonight, we actually got a couple sponsors now that we're starting to make some noise here at Who-Bangin. And our first sponsor is a friend of mine who is called Titus Williams, who's fighting this week at the Barclays Center on the big Charlo Hogan fight. I'll be there Saturday night. The kid is just a good kid. I've watched a couple of fights. He's a two-time Golden Glove champ. He's a Sugar Ray Robinson Award recipient. And the kid's sharp. And, I talked to, his strength and conditioning coach is a really good friend of mine. And I've talked to him about this subject. And, when it's like his level where he's trying to climb the ranks, it's more like, are you marketable? Is it your churn? To get a shot at a payday, like this, like for instance, Titus, he's on this card where just about every other fight I'm looking, there's a line on it, but there's not a line on his fight yet. He'll probably be the first or the second fight. There's probably maybe 8 or 10 fights that night. They always work it depending on how quick some fights are. A couple 4-rounders, a couple 7-rounders, and then probably a couple 10s.
Sometimes they make the TV card that way.
Yeah, so I mean, I know that there's always things, underhanded things going on, but especially in the boxing game, I think it was worse years ago, like when we were, growing up in the
definitely
those, the 70s and the 80s and Don King era. There's definitely was, but again, are you market? You can't only have to be a good fighter. You got to be marketable, almost like that WWE mentality. That's always in the forefront, with to me with that. But
listen, Titus is on the Ruiz and Joshua card. I didn't even know that before we talked tonight. That's amazing, bro. It's amazing.
When you mentioned that to me, I looked it up, and that is he's up and coming. Now he's changing into league. There's so many damn different leagues in the boxing. He was fighting in the Mexican league, International Mexican Association. I forget what the letters were, but now he's
doing
trying
that
to
purposely, though.
move up top rank. So yeah, he's definitely moving up. But I'll tell you, you want to do something like that, you got to be dedicated. That's for sure. That's not an easy thing to do, like in MMA. But I didn't want. I was going to bring up this subject last week, but I had Titus on, and I didn't think it would be a good idea to bring up cheating in sports as I have a boxer trying to make his name, That would have been too good, huh? The kid might have came here and knocked me out.
He's a nice guy.
But so getting started with the topic, what got me going on the topic again, what made me think about it was a couple weeks ago was the Houston Astros thing where they got caught electronically stealing signs. Allegedly, I guess it's not proven yet, but they had a camera hooked up to the TV feed that was on the catcher. They had a monitor between the dugout and the locker room, and they were watching what was going on. And they had a guy that he did. He sat there, and they determined, and the players would go back there, and they were stealing signs. Now, to me, that's outright cheating. But if I'm in the stands with a pair of binoculars and the pitcher is lazy enough to show his signs and I'm stealing signs that way and communicating them to the dugout, to me that's maybe not what is cheating. So the question is, what's cheating and what's gamesmanship? So in that scenario in baseball, what do you think about them electronically stealing signs like that?
I think one or two ways you can look at it. If they are stealing signs electronically and they're communicating electronically, then I say, hey, that's a disadvantage for the other team because they're not doing the same thing, correct?
Right.
So if one team has an advantage over another and there's some type of technology involved, then so be it. So in my book that's kind of an unfair advantage. Now if they tell the other team that they can have the same thing, and they could look at their pitchers and steal their signs off the catcher and then telegraph them to the dugout, then turnabout's fair play. But, when you hear whistling and banging and all kinds of shit like that, come on, man. It's so obvious it's not even funny,
I mean, it was going on in the World Series, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's not even an isolated case. It
didn't work, though.
Yeah, well, it didn't work. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with Dom 100%. I grew up playing ball my whole life, and I caught. And at the same time, you got to keep your signs tight. You know what I mean? You got to keep your, you know what I mean? So he got caught slipping probably a little bit, being a little loose with his legs, and those signs were getting out there. And but it is, in my opinion, it is cheating. You know what I mean? At the same time, though, it's that catcher's fault.
That's the catcher's fault, like that.
That's part of the game. You can steal the signs part of the game, but you just can't. You just can't. Broadcast it in a way like. Now you can signal if you guys give hand signals like your guy on base and he signals to the dugout and then the dog. That's different, But if they got cameras and shit like that, and they're going,
that's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah.
I think the league's gonna come down hard on them, and they're going to probably lose some draft. I don't know what you can do. I guess they could do what they did to the Patriots with the Deflate Gate, lose some draft picks, I guess. So now that's I mentioned the Deflate. So Brady had somebody allegedly again take some air out of the ball so he could handle it better, throw it better, whatever. Is that really cheating? I mean, does
they
that
both
really
have the same ball, right?
I mean, no, they keep on switching balls, right? In the NFL, they keep on switching balls. So the team throws his balls, and they got to have a certain amount of balls to be done. But is that really cheating? I mean, or is that just see things like that to me. It's
easier to catch, I think, because it's a deflated ball. I don't think it's easier to throw because I play QB.
I don't know why he did it, but obviously he did it for to grip it better, maybe, or he just feels more comfortable that way. But is that cheating or not, or is that just hey, I figured out something that's a little bit maybe shady on the rules, but you're not catching me, so. Is it really affect the game? The guy still has to catch the ball. I still got to throw the ball well. Doc, what do you think about that? Do you really think that was cheating? They sure came down on him like it was.
Yeah. Look at NASCAR, right? That when they run the races, when they run the car around the track and they got to take the car in the pit, they measure the car. If any type of imperfection in the height adjustments and stuff like that, it's a disqualification. So that would be my equivalent to the football. If the football is supposed to be 14 pounds and it's at 10 or 12, then guess what? It's not part of the game. Now, how do you go back and prove that after the game has been played? You know what I mean? So you could say, hey, I found these balls after the game and they were this. You didn't catch him doing it, so guess what? It's a technicality now.
Yeah, that's right. But
there's a lot of examples like that are really touchy that Richie watched. I remember I always come back to I guess it was 1984. It was the Jets were in the championship against the Dolphins, and the Jets team that year they were winning only because of the running game. They had one of the best running games in the league that year. Shula, the coach of the Dolphins, they were playing in the Orange Bowl, left the top off the field for like 2 or 3 days during this like torrential rainstorm. When they got on the field on Sunday, the Jets were sliding all over the place. You know, the Dolphins were practicing on that field. They kind of knew the cleats to wear and everything like that. And the Jets lost, you know, and the running game was really obsolete. And that always came up as a big cheating thing. But that's another gray area. Is that cheating, or is that just smart by Shula to get away with it? You know, those are things that interest me. You know, is that cheating or not? You know,
I wonder how he game planned for that one. You know what I mean?
They knew the rain was coming. They knew the Jets' running game was their whole game, and if they could make the field, sloppy, that the running game would be, affected. They thought they had an upper hand, so that's why they did it. You know. So remember that, Doc?
I missed. I had to dip out for just 1 second.
That Dolphin jet thing, and when Shula left the top off the field. Do you remember that? It was like in the 80s, early 80s. Yeah.
What about New England when they brought the broom out to sweep the field?
Yeah, and he went like this. He went like, instead of going straight across, he goes like that with the
for the field goal kicker.
Yeah, for the field goal kicker, Nick. They were supposed to, plow straight across because it was snowing heavy. Straight across, so you could see the line. And what he did was he dipped around like that so the kick out a spot to dry a spot to stand on. And
they called a timeout. And they brought the snow, not the snow plow, but it was like a snow plow. Had a brush on it.
Yeah. Get the fuck out of here.
Once it's done, it's too late.
Yeah, you're right. Oops. You know what I mean?
But then again, like here, another good question. DJ was asking. Like the the stickum on the gloves. Is there too much stickum? In baseball, you see these guys now. They're all protected on their arm. They lean into pitches. You're not supposed to be leaning into a pitch. That's really, but those are the gray areas to me that are gamesmanship and not cheating.
Yeah.
To me, cheating is things that are really outright. Just outright stuff.
Yeah, like a pitcher tips to his hat and he's got Vaseline on there.
Like the old Phil Negro days and stuff, right?
Yeah. I'll give you one in MMA that really irking me these days.
I was just going to ask you about that. What do you in MMA? To me, I see a lot of what do you think about that?
That fence grab where a fighter's about to take him down and get in dominant position, and he grabs the fence and it holds him up blatantly. They warn him, and then they'll warn him again, and then maybe take a point. Sometimes they'll warn him again and then take a point. It should be no point, either a point right then and there, or it should be started from the ground. You know what I mean? They should start them right from the ground because he was getting taken down. The only reason why he wasn't going down is because he held himself up by the fence.
So the fence can't save you, in other words.
No,
the fence can't save you. You're not supposed to grab onto the fence.
No, and all they do is stop grabbing the fence, stop grabbing the fence. I mean, how many times are you going to tell a fighter that, and how many times is the fighter going to lose position and lose ground control? You know what I mean? And it maybe, if that's a wrestler, you know how much energy he's taken doing that? You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's starting to irk me, and they're not taking enough points. They're starting to do a little bit, more now, but they're not doing enough at all. Nope. What about eye pokes too? Eye pokes, and the kick in the old gonads. I mean, if there's a fighter that's tired,
Three Stooge move,
dude. All you got to do is kick a guy right in the nuts on accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That guy's gonna take at least 2 or 3 minutes to recover. You know what I mean? And if you're tired, you kick a guy in the nuts and you recover. I mean, that's another thing I've seen a little bit. And then coming in overweight purposely. If you know you're not going to make weight, you start cutting weight early. And you come in 5 or 6 pounds overweight, the other fighter still takes the fight, even though he gets 20% of your purse. And right now, the percentage of fighters that win coming in overweight is like well over 75%.
Do these guys put like? Do they? Is there a rule about them greasing themselves up or making themselves?
Yep.
There got to be rules against that, right?
A lot of guys that are scared to get taken down, or think that they have a grappling disadvantage in that fight, they'll get greased up as well, Vaseline on and whatnot. All over, I mean, there was a fight recently too, and I got to think back. I can't remember right offhand. That during the fight, he's telling the ref he's greased up. You know what I mean? He's greased up. I can't. Oh no, he was trying to take him down. Yeah, that's right. He was trying to take him down the whole time. He's like, I can't take him down because it was a Michael Chandler, and they didn't do anything about it. But it's just another tactic. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm sweaty. You know what I mean? Or my because I was cut. My guy was fixing my eye with the Vaseline. He grabbed me and he greased me up accidentally. It's hearsay, really, at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Little dirty tricks.
Dirty tricks of the trade, man. There's a lot of them, and let me just give you a little update on the Viking game. Halftime, 17-10. Vikings are up. They had a 20-yard interception return in the second quarter. Yeah, so Seahawks must have been starting out, and they must have been in their own zone, and they got picked off, and he ran 20-yard interception return for their second score. Then they hit the Seahawks hit a 29-yard field goal, and then the Vikings hit a 47-yard field goal. So I tell you, I like what Kirk Cousins is doing. I like how they're playing.
Yeah, he's playing good ball right now.
And Thielen's not playing tonight. I think he's just one of the best receivers in the league. I love that guy, Thielen. He don't miss nothing, and he's not playing tonight. And so I was a little skeptical, but so far. Cousins is 13 for 17 at 125 yards. But it's halftime. We'll see what happens. Pete Carroll's a good coach.
Both of them guys are great coaches.
Yep, great coaches. I was always a Pete Carroll fan. I met him a couple times when he was at the Jet facility and stuff. And,
Chris Carter, I'm friends with his family.
I know a lot of Jets back in the day. So working and stuff. Matter of fact, when I was a kid, I worked for I was a cook at Greg Buttle's restaurant in East Meadow, Long Island. Back in the day, actually, and all the Jets used to, Mark Gastineau and all those guys used to be in there. I was in my 20s, and
that was last week, right?
Fun. Yeah, that was last week, baby. Sometimes it seems like that, right, Doc?
I'm telling you what. Hey, you remember Dante Culpepper, right?
Sure.
I know.
Yeah, he's from where I live. He went to high school here, and Kelly worked with his wife, and she was his girlfriend at the time. So I hung out with him at a Christmas party right when he got into the league. Where she worked where Kelly used to work, where Kelly still works actually. So the girl, she was young, but he just bought his grandmother a house. His grandmother raised him. Good kid. Then when he got hooked up with Randy Moss, he got a little wild back.
Yeah. Randy said, "Come on, man, let me show you how to."
When they came back home, listen. I got a friend of mine's a sergeant with the police department, and he pulled him over one night, and the car was all smoked out. They rolled down the windows, and it was Randy Moss and Dante Culpepper. And my buddy Vitale, he says, I ought to arrest you bastards right now. You'll be the first thing on ESPN. He says, get the hell out of here, he says.
Yeah, man. That's so funny. That's so funny. So
I know Chris Carter.
What was that?
Chris, the high school I went to high school at, I used to do summer camp, and it was a big summer camp, and a lot of rich kids. No, down here in South Florida. And but Chris Carter had a summer house down here, and so did Moss. And Moss's kid was, but he was younger. But let me tell you, Deron Carter, he plays in the Canadian Football League. He was a fucking stud. I used to throw footballs to that kid every single day, day in, day out. And he didn't live up to the hype of his dad, but his dad would tip me $1,000, $1,500 or more at the end of each camp. Just boom, because you get tipped by the parents. That's how you make most of your money. And he would just leave a big ass tip at the end of every camp every year for 3 years straight.
Yeah. So I got a question. A couple people want to have the same question. We were talking about the cheating in NFL. They were all talking about Spygate, what everybody felt about Spygate, if that was cheating or not. Which again was the Patriots, which is probably why they came down so much of them about the Deflategate. But you remember that? You remember the whole Spygate thing? Yeah.
Yeah,
he was stealing sign. Belichick had somebody stealing
the practice.
taping the practice and stuff.
Yeah,
If you're not cheating, you're not trying to win. So
that's electronic scouting. There we go
Yeah,
again.
man,
right?
there's something wrong with that, man.
Yeah.
To me, there's definitely something wrong with that. So, Doc, if we're talking about cheating, before we wrap it up, we can't not talk about mentioning horse racing.
Oh
We?
God. Yeah. horse racing. Here's the thing about horse racing. If you go and bet, for those guys that don't know a lot about horse racing, I mean, we all know when you go to a window, you can bet on a horse running across the track. That's pretty easy to figure out. But each race is in a different class, so to speak. So there's only, you're only going to see the Kentucky Derby run once a year. You're only going to see the Breeders' Cup once a year. But in between all those races, if they're not running what they call these stake races, they're running these little maiden races, claiming races. These are all like lower level horses that are not on the top level of horse racing. So that's where all the funny shit happens in those races there, because still the gamblers are going to the track and they're betting on horses. The pools are not as big, but there's still money. On a good day at Aqueduct, you might see you'll see a couple $1 million go through the handle. What the handle is the amount of money that's turned over in the window. So what happens in horse racing, and especially towards the end of the season at the track, they'll run what they call these feed money races. And feed money is monies that the barns get to recoup for, taking care of the horses. So depending on what day of the, what race of the day at a time of the day, there might be a race that, they give to a certain, to a certain barn for that day. And they say, this is the feed money race. And the only people that are in on it is the jockeys and the barn that's getting the money. And so you'll see the jockeys pull back. And then the owners, not the owners, but the barn or the stable, they'll bet a shitload of money on that horse. And, it's usually a long price too. So they get paid and they take everybody's money that way. So, and then the jockeys, and it's been proven over the years, but you don't hear about it anymore, but years have gone by. And it happens probably more so than you think because there's so many tracks across the country. We're not just talking about Belmont and, Gulfstream. There's tracks in Pennsylvania, there's tracks in Maryland, there's tracks in Ohio, there's tracks in, Oklahoma. So it happens everywhere. But those feed money races are a way for the barns to kind of sustain some of their costs back. And there's no sweat off of their back. It's just coming right off the cut of the gamblers.
Oh.
Yeah.
And, like you say, those maiden races, for people like you said that don't know, the maiden races are the horses that haven't won a race yet. So
correct.
They're usually those 2-year-olds there just starting out racing. And it's really the track. I mean, you notice it sometimes, even at Belmont and stuff. You could tell that all of a sudden they're pulling up a little bit, or they're letting the rail go so a guy can shoot the rail. You see that sometimes. But on these little tracks, there's a lot of them across the country. That's when some real shenanigans.
Let me ask these guys a hypothetical question. If I put 100 horses in a room or in an area with you, a lot of them horses look alike, don't they? I mean, think about it for a second.
Hell yeah, they do.
Okay, so there was a big scam years ago. This guy in Florida, he would take these horses to Australia. Now, the horses, I'm pretty sure nowadays, but inside their lip, there's a marking on them. It's got some kind of mark numbers or something. But in Australia, they didn't use that. So what the guy would do, he would take, he would go get a horse from Australia, and a good horse, and bring it back to the States, and he'd run it here in the States. This would cause a lot of shit to happen. This guy was winning all these like bigger money, like medium price horse races. Like the horse would be going off at 40-1. Then all of a sudden next week the horse would win a race. So it kept going on with this one trainer. So anyways, they caught on him. He went to prison. This is years ago.
So prison for it?
Yeah. So what happened was this guy was running horses. Like he'd go out and bet a ton of money on these horses, and the horse would be like, say, 40-1 last week, and then maybe 30-1 the following week, and then the next week he'd go out and win the race. Like his horses were doing that. Like, so, and I guess the gamblers didn't catch up to it till it happened like later in the year. But then this was going on for a while. So anyways, they caught up to the trainer, and they figured out what he was doing. He was taking horses from Australia that were doing really good over there, and bringing them back over here and running them in the American races after he ran a couple shitty horses, he stick the good horse in, and he
that looked the same.
Yeah, had very similar markings and everything. But then he'd bring him over here and they put the same marking of the horse. They never did say what he did with the horses that were not winning the races. You know, whether he shot them or something like that. Who the hell knows? But anyways, but these were all lower level races too. So that's what Dom was. You know, we were saying these are like maiden races because his horses never won. So they would have to, and he can only do it one time because once a horse wins a horse race in a maiden race, you know, they move him up to the next level. But he was taking these lower level races and he was, you know, making a fortune. He made like millions of dollars doing this for about almost 2 years before they caught on to him.
Oh man, there's a lot of stuff going on, man. Even, you know, like you say, some of it's cheating and some of it isn't. I mean, if those guys in the back, if they know a horse isn't feeling good or they know a horse maybe stumbled a little bit working out in the morning, you know, them loading up on another horse doesn't really mean they're cheating just because they got information. Information doesn't mean you're cheating.
Right.
But,
it's when you compromise,
Right. When you're shooting up the, you know, you always heard about them shooting up the horse with, you know, with adrenaline or whatever the hell, you know.
It's funny because certain trainers get banned from certain tracks for giving their horse certain kinds of medications too. So
without a doubt,
a couple guys in California that are going through that right now.
I'll tell you, it's a subject we can go on about cheating and stuff, and it leads into another subject that we'll hit another time, which is, you know, fixed. I know a lot of people think sports are fixed. I know a lot of people think that. And to me, what fixed means is, you know, the outcome of the game is predetermined. Yeah. That to me is what really fixed is. And if I think that the NFL is fixed or Major League Baseball is fixed, you got to be out of your mind. Then why would we bet on it? I mean, right?
Yeah,
to me, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. And to me, I always come down to the fact that there's so much money that they're making now, billions and billions and billions. What is the advantage for fixing a game? You know, a bookie making money in Las Vegas, $10 million. That's not an advantage to a major league enterprise, right? You know, they're making billions of dollars. Why would they risk it? And think about how many people would have to be involved if a game was really fixed, like the outcome was really fixed. And
loose lips sink ships. So.
You know, I mean, too many people would have to know to fix a game, right? There'd be too many people would have to know, and sooner or later, somebody would. I think it would have came out by now, but that's a discussion. I know there's some friends of ours that think that it is fixed. So,
me every time I lose.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I hear you. You know, but before we wrap this up, I can't 47 minutes already. Wow. Before we wrap this up, I want to touch a little bit on next week's NFL games. There's a couple, you know, we're getting down to the end now. So, but before we do that, we have another sponsor, and thanks to Nicky talking to his guys at All Pro Moving Group. They decided they're going to sponsor us, and they like what we're doing, and we're pleased that they're doing that. And we thank Nick a lot for getting that hooked up for us.
No problem.
And that's great, Nick. I know you guys are reputable movers. I've been in the moving business for 30 years. I own my own, and I worked in the moving business, so I know a lot about it. And you know, even though you're my friend, I still had to search the company a little bit and see, you know, what kind of reputation they have, and that you're licensed and insured. That's such a big thing in the moving business. You're licensed and insured, and that you guys are doing interstate moves.
The whole continental U.S.
We lost him. He's frozen in time. The cold weather got him.
Perfect picture too. Yeah, guys, we service the whole continental U.S. It's a full service move. Whatever you need, I'll get it done for you guys. And you
gave everybody a promo code, right, Nick?
Yes. All Pro Nick 1 right there. $500 off your move, no matter how big or how small.
That's a lot of money. $500 is a lot of money. You guys do you have a full packing services. People need
we can do full pack, the whole 9. Your car we can transport as well too.
So you come and get all of us and bring us out to Vegas in a couple of years. Is that what you're telling me?
Right. I'm gonna grab one of our trucks, or I'm I'm gonna pimp it out in the back, limousine style. We're just gonna drive to Vegas.
We're gonna call it the bookie special because if we keep banging these books, our bookies are gonna want us to move somewhere and they'll pay for us to move. So
Hell yeah!
we'll give
Oh
them
yeah! We get the primo special.
Oh man! But I'll tell you, we do appreciate it, man. And hey,
Not a problem.
you never know. Somebody, you're moving interstate. It's a big thing to move. It's one of those things, that everybody has to do it, and it's a stressful time. And to have reputable guys that stand behind their work is a big thing in the moving business. There's not many that do that, so that's a great thing, man. And hopefully, you guys just keep on getting bigger and bigger, and hopefully, we just a long relationship between the company and us. So anyhow, thanks a lot, Nick, for that. That was great, man.
No problem.
So quickly, before we get out of here, next week's NFL. I was looking at a couple of games already. The Dallas Cowboys, by the way, what the hell happened to the Dallas Cowboys? How did they?
Dom, you got the wrong number on there.
Do we have the wrong number there?
Yeah.
All right, so let me get that out of there. We'll have to get another one. Yeah, you knock it in for us. Well, I probably knocked it. Put
myself for this one, no problem.
Yeah, well, we'll make another one. We're gonna do We're gonna record a commercial tomorrow, so
sounds good.
We'll just check everything out. But yeah, like I said, the Dallas Cowboys. I know the Bills have been playing better, but the Cowboys in general. What the hell happened to that team? I mean, Ezekiel Elliott. What's that?
It starts at top with Jerry Jones and trickled its way down. That's what happened there.
It's unbelievable.
You got a coach. You got an owner calling out a coach after a game. And that resonates in the locker room. And then you get the players doubting the coach, and it's just a bad look all the way around. So he's got nobody to blame but himself. Jerry Jones is the cancer of that team.
They kind of, it's weird, but they kind of remind me of the Knicks in a way. There we go. I guess DJ's doing some work in the background.
We go.
There you go.
Oh, man.
About time he does some work.
We don't need to see our mugs. We need to see the advertisers. They can hear us.
Exactly. Good boy, DJ. So they remind me of the Knicks in a way, the Cowboys, because they got those franchises in spots that everybody goes to. They're like tourist attractions, the stadiums, like MSG is a tourist attraction. And the Knicks, no matter how bad they are, they'll always sell out. And the Cowboys, no matter how many championships they're not winning like they used to, they're still going to sell out. And I think that might have a lot to do with management and how they think. It's all about the money at this point. It's not about the fans.
It's big enterprise,
Right?
It's the same thing with the Yankees too, Dom.
Right. The Cowboys and the Yankees are hooked up together, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's at one and one, same one and the same more or less. One's baseball, one's football, but yeah, they're the super teams. They're the super. They got the deepest pockets. So they're selling merchandise. They're selling tickets. They're selling, dreams. They're selling their fans. And the fans that have their lifelong fans, and that's the thing. No matter what they do, the fans are still going to buy the shirts. They're still going to go to the games. They're still going to eat at the restaurants. They're still going to make the pays, for whatever they're selling, they're buying, so to speak. So that's what it is with those teams like that. Those big super teams, they got the deep pockets, and they pay the money to get it that way.
Well, next week the Cowboys are playing in Chicago. And I'll tell you, Chicago played pretty good last Thursday. I know they played Detroit, but they played pretty good. Dallas on the road against Chicago. That might be an interesting game. The game I'm looking forward to, though, is the 49ers are on the road again, and they're playing the Saints at the Dome. Yeah, there's the line opened up at -3.5, and now I'm seeing a -3, which is interesting. So that's a game that has that's a good look ahead game. What do you think? And the other one, of course, we mentioned before is the Ravens at Buffalo, and Buffalo opened at 6, and now it's 5.5 plus, of course. But what do you think about the San Francisco Saints game? It's tough, man. San Francisco had to fly home and then fly back.
Yeah,
well, I guess that's what they did. Right?
I used to put credence in. That was a big part of my capping for a long time. Was especially east, west to east, but nowadays I was like, you know what? Not so much anymore. But when they go, except when they go back to back now.
Yeah,
that's
something to look for.
And you're going back to back to the East Coast. Not like you're going, Arizona, then you're going up to, let's say Seattle. You're going cross country both times.
Right. And listen, the time change makes a big difference. I mean,
it's going to be tough for them.
even I know you get used to it when you're traveling a lot and stuff, but even us, when we travel, we go to Las Vegas from the East Coast. That 3 hour time change screws you up for a day. It just does. It's just natural. And I think sometimes teams like San Francisco why wouldn't they stay here on the East Coast? They played the Ravens in a tough game out in terrible weather. Why wouldn't they just stay here and then play the Saints? Like, why wouldn't they just go get a hotel in New Orleans and stay? I don't know why they do that. To me, that would be smarter. But that should be
Or
some
they
game.
practice.
I guess you can always find a place. There's a college somewhere to practice this. I don't know. I guess you got a point there. But
those logistics, they should be worked out way before the travel scenarios could even
you can
come
always
up.
practice on a high
People
school
binoculars everywhere.
Well, that's true too. I mean, but there's always spots I guess you can find. I don't know. But do you guys have any look on that game? Do you think the Saints could beat the 49ers?
Yeah,
you think
Saints are
Either
probably
way.
going to be one of the teams that go to the NFC Championship. I think the Saints defense is every bit as good as the 49ers, believe it or not, even though the 49ers, they have more moving pieces, but the Saints have some pretty good players on defense. And the thing you got to keep in mind, too, if they're playing in the dome on that fast track, that's going to benefit the Saints versus the Niners that are playing on grass. So now if it was the other way around, I would say it'd be an advantage to the 49ers, coming off the turf.
It's a tough spot for them. It's a tough spot for the 49ers.
Yeah.
And I think Breeze wasn't really as that healthy his first week or two he came back. Now he's probably back into form,
Yeah, even so, if you notice Breeze the way he throws the ball, he's not throwing it. He's not the Breeze of old. Most of his plays are coming, they're not taking those deep pops down the field like he used to. He's a lot of it's coming out of the backfield, I wouldn't call it check down passes, but they're under like 10, 12, 15-yard passes. They're not 40, 50-yard passes. Like he'll throw one every now and then, but for the most part, they're not airing it out like they used to.
What's the over-under on that? Like 49?
What was that, Nick?
What's the over-under on that game? Yeah, total.
The total is 44.5. It opened at 45.5 and went down to 44.5.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Because that's San Francisco defense, I guess, is why. But
yeah, I guess you're
that's
right.
That's a pretty sharp number, probably that 44. I scrolling down, there is one more game that we definitely got to touch on before we get out of here, and that's KC New England. In New England opened up at 3.5, and now they're 3. KC is +3. Under and over is 48.5. Open at 49.5. You think that the Patriots bounce back, Doc? They are home. This is usually that scenario, but
that'll make the third time that if I go on with the Pats and they lose.
That's an amazing thing, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, no, they didn't lose against Dallas. They just didn't cover. They lost against the spread.
Right. I bet Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, I forget that's a whole other story. But I mean, they definitely got beat last night bad. The game in Dallas, that was the right side was the Pats in that game. The Dallas people got lucky because Jerry, fucking asshole, don't know how to coach a football game. He kicks a field goal when he's down by 7, and needs a touchdown to tie the game to go to overtime. But anyways, good for the guys that backed Dallas that game. You guys got lucky.
Yeah,
but at the same time, they're playing to win the game. They're not playing. But you didn't think they coached to win. But I don't know. New England probably maybe just do enough to win that game. Who the hell knows? They have some lacking of talent on offense right now, and Brady's frustrations is showing. So I don't think that team falls apart like Dallas. I think they kind of regroup and get it back together in the short term. But it's going to take a little bit more moxie for that team to move forward if they're gonna get their chance to get to the top of the division. So that's going to be the look ahead. I wouldn't call it the look ahead game, but that's going to be one of the telltale games going forward. This next game, this is probably the most important game of the season for them coming up against Kansas City.
Yeah, I would think so. So that's some good games we got to look forward to then next week. Baltimore, Buffalo, KC, New England. That's some good games we got looking forward. And then San Francisco, New Orleans. So it should be a good week. Hopefully the NFL is better to me than it was last week. But I had a good hockey week, and then I just gave it back on Saturday and Sunday.
I only had one loss. I had the loss in the New England game. That was it.
Yeah, I know you had a
You
good
killed it,
weekend,
Doc,
Doc.
right?
You had a good stretch from the from Thanksgiving, huh?
Yeah, from last week, from
Oh,
Monday
good.
with Kansas, with the KC under all the way up
Right.
until I was like 15-2 last week in football. I lost one game on Saturday in college, and I lost the Houston game, and I think I lost that the last minute.
Right.
I was getting excited because I was like 4-0. I said, oh, maybe I go 6-0 in the pick six contest. And when Houston went down, I said, oh, that's okay. I'll go 5-1. I got New England Sunday night, and they bit the bullet too. So I went 4-2 in that contest for the week.
Speaking about the pick six contest and the chat, our buddy who was joining us on the lounge last Friday night, Ron KC fan, told
Yeah.
me today that he needed the Vikings tonight plus the 3, and
Oh, good.
he'll hit the pick six. He'll have all 6. So
Beautiful.
he went 5-0 so far. So we're rooting for him.
Yeah, rooting for Ronnie. Go
We're
Ronnie,
rooting for
go.
Ronnie to go Ronnie. And also joining us in the chat was Coco Bongo. Good seeing you, Coco.
Yeah.
Alex Ramirez always joining us. Great guy. Always supporting us. Paco Healy, of course, one of the OGs.
Oh,
Paco doing his thing. DJ is always, always in the back and in the chat. And we just thank everybody for coming in. It's been fun
1000%
talking.
appreciate it.
An hour goes by quick.
It does.
There's Doc, there's one thing I found out before I went on. I don't know if you've seen this. The Yankees just hired this girl as their hitting coach in their minor league system. She was the Astros strength and conditioning coach, and they hired her as a hitting coach. She played softball, but the reason why they hired her is because she got a master's in analytics and in eye coordination and eye timing your eye with objects.
How many baseballs she hit in her life?
Exactly. It's a total different.
And that's my point. Exactly how many baseballs did she hit? How are you going to be a hitting coach and not ever hit a damn baseball? I thought that was kind of weird. I mean, listen, it's not has nothing to do with her being a girl. It's because she's never hit a baseball. I don't care about the
experience. Experience is paramount. I'll give you another example. You ask about the Cowboys. Look at the kid on the sideline coaching the offense. How much experience does he have? Now the league, they want to get younger and younger with these young minds, so to speak, to put these offenses on the field. But these guys, they got to grow up a little bit before they can step into the big league. So that's my point with her. She hasn't swung a bat. I had hit a major league ball in her life, even a minor league ball for that matter. So bad hire by the Yanks.
Exactly.
That one.
What are you going to say, Nick?
And in softball, all right. So we had a little contest in high school, and my baseball and softball team we were state champion. Well, went to states and lost twice, and softball. But we would step on the softball field with the girls and let them throw to us. They would put it right by us because the mound's a lot closer, and it comes in quick. Right? We put the girls on the same exact in the baseball field. And my buddy would be throwing 90, 91, 89-ish, you know what I mean? And they wouldn't even have a chance in hell. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's totally different. That ball, especially when it comes when I was batting, that ball comes in, that softball comes in quick. But when it comes to baseball, it's smaller. Right. It's a whole, you know what I mean? It's all different. It's all different.
I can see her being a strength and conditioning coach. That makes sense. If she's good at what she does, she's good at what she does. But to be a hitting coach in the minor league system, that, like I said, I thought it was a bad hire by the Yankees also. But anyhow, I see Josh just pointed. Thanks for coming in, Josh. 17-17 is the game. And I know he's a Vikings fan, and I know he was against the Vikings today. He's not happy with Kirk Cousins, I don't think. Yeah. And it's one of the rare times I totally disagree with him on this game. But it is tied up, and it is the second half. So I'm going to get you guys out of here, and I'm going to get myself out of here after that. And let's go watch the second half of this game, man.
I got one more shout out. He's not in the chat. He's an original low bagger, but he pops in and out every so often. Captain Sosana, 6-0 this week for him too.
Oh, that's that's a name I haven't heard in a while. There's a couple old baggers that haven't been around in a while. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. And Another guy I haven't heard in a long time is our buddy, a good buddy of ours, Bookie
Triggerman?
Level Q. No, Bookie Level
Oh.
Q.
Oh yeah, I was asking about him in the chat the other day.
Yeah.
Him and Raven. I haven't seen Raven in the desert lately either.
Raven Thompson now, but
we'll put our APB on him.
Yeah, we'll put it. That's a perfect thing.
Shadow too.
Nicky, before we got anything you want to say before we get you out of here?
This week we got a bunch of great UFC fights. I'm gonna be putting Twitter card together. After
Tell us about your contest, quick. Tell us about your contest on SBR.
Yeah, Lords of the Cage SBR contest. You win a UFC fight pass. If you win, it's a 2-week event. There's 2 cards back to back on the 7th and on the 14th. All you gotta do is make your picks, and then at the end, you pick which team's gonna win, which is Team Low Bag or Team Live Line. Obviously, I know you guys can be picking Team Low Bag, so
Is that for the tiebreaker?
Yeah, it's for the tiebreaker. And as Flash was saying, though, we're supposedly low hanging fruit as underdogs. No. See, sorry, buddy.
In my contract, I'm obligated to pick Team Low Bag.
That's right. I'm coming for you guys, Team Live Line.
Nick, what's your Twitter handle?
Hit me up at Mr. Fatfist, no period, MrFatFist, Mr. Fatfist.
Okay, Nick. Man, thanks for everything, buddy. And we will be talking later on in the chat, and I will talk to you tomorrow, man. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Sounds good, guys.
Nick, Doc, where are you? Tell us your Twitter.
At BIGRAGOO62. Boston the Sauce Thursday night. Who-Bangin Lounge Friday night.
Right.
Pick 6 show tomorrow night or Wednesday night.
What time is that?
That's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then Saturday morning closing line, SBR, 11 o'clock a.m. Busy, man.
Everybody's busy. Everybody's doing our thing, And like I tell everybody, there's room for all of us. So we're not against anybody. Absolutely. We're all together. And, we're shout out to our boy Jimmy. He was off last week. Some family things going on, and we're glad that he's back in the fold. And
good to see that. Work. Good to see his face.
Shout out to Jimmy, and shout out to all the low baggers, and shout out to all the Who-Bangin people for joining us every week. And
Absolutely.
Like Doc said, we'll be back on Thursday for the Boston the Sauce. So for Dom Rici, I'm at Dom Rici 541 on Twitter, and for Big Ragu, we will see you next time. Thank you. See you at the window.
See you at the window.
All right. Thanks, Doc.
All right. Have a good night.